Everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Should Scrappers. So today I am back with my first layout of the month for the Erica Rose Creates design team. I am using her Sweet Summer Snapshots cut file and appropriately using the Summer Snapshots collection from Simple Stories. So if you've been watching my cut file videos, you know I'm trying to come up with ways to make them stand out without backing them all the time. And so this layout, I decided to cut strips, or rip strips, I should say, of 3 pattern papers. Now, it didn't exactly work the way that I was hoping it would work. I still like it, and the cut file still stands out, but the maybe shape or the size of the cut file, I really probably could have gotten away with just cutting strips straight across the page instead of ripping it. With the ripping, it's kind of uneven, and then you will see that it carries over into the next word below it. So I wasn't hoping for that, I guess. I was trying not to do that, but it's just kind of the way it worked out. You will see that I have not committed to the placement of the papers yet because I wanted to rip them and kind of get an idea of how maybe far apart I wanted to tape them down, if that makes sense. So those 2 there are not too bad. I am going to obviously bring in a 3rd piece of paper for that bottom word. I just kind of had to figure out what paper I wanted to use because it needed to be 12 inches across. The yellow paper was just a scrap piece of paper, ended up being the perfect width, quite honestly. I have found though that ripping smaller width papers is harder for me. It's not kind of a fluid rip. That kind of makes sense. You see how quickly on a 12-inch by 12-inch paper, I can rip that. With the smaller width, I really struggled. And you can see little pieces all over the place. It's not like a fluid rip. It's a more jagged, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So that is one thing also I wish would have been different for the layout, but it is what it is. And again, not something I was going to go back and cut into a 12 by 12 paper for. I would have rather used all scraps if I could have, but that's just not the way that it worked out. So here I'm kind of just taping down. I don't think I really taped the cut file down very well at all, but I'm just kind of taping the thicker pieces because I wanted to be able to adjust it if I needed to. So this is kind of where I struggled with this one maybe a little bit. It was kind of okay with that top straight paper coming down into the word summer, but I don't like how the dark blue paper is up into summer, I guess. I do wish my yellow paper would have been a little bit wider. I still have not cut it down because I wanted to make sure that I had the placement correct, and I wanted my 2 4x6 photos to fit right underneath of my cut file. So I kind of waited to cut it until I had it placed on the white cardstock. So now kind of playing around with the bottom. The rest of it is a fairly simple, maybe I would say. Oh, I did forget. I do add another pattern. I just didn't love how the right side was up higher than the left side. And so I figured it was the perfect spot to kind of add another pattern, bring in another color. And so I chose that orange floral paper, and it's just the smallest little hint of it, but I like how that fills in that gap a little bit, especially when I go to embellish. I'm glad that there is something there. I do cover up some of it, but some of it still will peek through. So if you've been following for a while, you know that I usually matte my photos, but because the bottom I'm keeping white, I don't matte my photos on this one. I am going to leave them right on the page. And initially, I thought that I would have them kind of centered, and then I thought maybe I would have them towards the left, but when it comes down to it, I actually move them more to the right. So I wanted to journal about these photos. These are from our anniversary 2 years ago. It's so sad. I can't even tell you what we did last year, but I think it's 2 years ago. And we ended up going to the driving range as a family. And then I guess kind of backstory, we golfed a lot before we had kids. I worked at a golf course from the time that I was old enough to work. And so we actually had some of our wedding photos taken at this golf course. So it was just kind of neat. We went and ate at the golf course. So it's just kind of neat to have the boys with us and kind of have the same background as our wedding photos, or some of our wedding photos. So that is kind of the backstory of the pictures here. And so I do want a journal. So I have that tag I'm going to use. And the reason I flip-flopped kind of what side I was going to have my photos on is that there was a piece of ephemera with an arrow, and I wanted that arrow to point into my photos. And so that is why I kind of moved everything over to the right, just so that one piece of ephemera could point to my photos there. I am going to end up using the ephemera sun with the seagull at the top. I just thought the Bella Pop was too big and kind of looked out of place up there, but then having the cloud and the seagull, I think, just added to it. And so I decided to go ahead and add that one to the top, and I did pop that up on foam tape. So for the bottom clusters, I kind of got talking and kind of passed on by that, but I am going to add some floral clusters to the right hand side of the page, and I'm not adding too many embellishments to this one, to be quite honest. You saw the tag and then that phrase piece of ephemera I'm going to add to the bottom of the tag on the left, and then just obviously I wanted some other embellishments on the left hand side, and so I kind of just went into the stash or the embellishment pack that I have, and there was lemonade, a glass of lemonade, I believe, and because we're eating, I thought it was appropriate enough. I don't think there's really lemonade on the table, or I don't know if you can really see any drinks, period, but again, we're eating, so I thought it was okay enough to add there. And then adding the flowers to the right hand side, I was glad I had space to kind of overlap my photo. There's a lot of extra space at the top of that photo. I thought about trimming that one down a little bit. I didn't want to trim down the photo on the left, because the one on the left, if you look in the background, has the lake. And that is kind of the view, although I think we had our wedding photos up on a hill. If I remember correctly, it's the third hole green, and this was obviously at the clubhouse. But again, it's the same lake in the background, and so I didn't really want to cut that off at all. So I did keep both of them 4x6, which again, when I went to embellish, worked out nice, because then I was able to kind of embellish over top of that. So I think I added some sunglasses to that bottom left cluster, and then decided to add bugs. I don't know why. I have not yet brought in my enamel dot stash, which is crazy to me. And so I think these bugs were in place of the enamel dots, especially on the tag at least. I don't have a lot of twine. I have kind of run out of all of it. So instead I added a bug, and then decided, instead of putting in the middle pieces of some of the letters, that I would go through the ephemera and the stickers and add bugs to those letters. I don't know. It's just what I felt like doing that day. We all have those moments looking back. I don't think it was necessary at all, but it is what it is. And you know what? I used up some pieces of ephemera that I probably wouldn't have used otherwise. I am going to add one last little piece to that floral cluster just so I have like embellishments in each of the clusters. But once I add that bug to the floral cluster, I think that's going to be it. Definitely check out Erica Rose Creates shop online. She's got cut files, she's got digital cut files and pre-cut cut files. She also has page kits and collections and a whole bunch of beautiful collections and products on her website. And make sure to use the code Melanie for 15% off your order. So I hope you guys enjoyed this layout, and we will see you next time. Bye guys.